Yo, isn't it pretty crazy? I know a couple of times I've stated how much I would love to own a full album vinyl pressing of Late Night Delight, an unforgettable, simple yet sweet vaporwave collaboration album between Luxury Elite and Saint Pepsi that came out in the early days of the genre back in 2013. Luxury Elite and Saint Pepsi, as many of you know, are two artists who are forever chiseled as vaporwave greats, and the creation of this album has always stayed as a pretty prominent piece in vaporwave's history. It's as stereotypical as vaporwave can get, simple and honestly sometimes lazy loops, very raw sounding, only to be complemented with a heavy dosage of reverb and catchy samples that sound like they're droopy and melty, like that perfect looking piece of cheese you'll see nestled into a Big Mac on a late night McDonald's commercial. There's a reason people stay hungry for this album, and as I go way more in detail about it in my review of the earlier produced 5-song lath cut dropped of this album on the Illuminated Paths label, Late Night Delight is that perfect treat to go back in time with if you want to visit that more classical style of vaporwave production. There are obviously way smarter, cleaner, and better produced albums that have inevitably been dropped along the way that just do a better job with sampling and sound. However, the simplicity of LND will forever make it charming, there's no doubt about it. But here we are, years later after its original release digitally, and now we have a full album LP of this vaporwave throwback. So buckle up your seatbelt and pull up to the drive-thru window with me as we order a large number 1 with a side of Late Night Delight. And just one quick thing before we start today's video, I'd love to give my boys at Nightlight Tapes a shout out for sponsoring this video. Nightlight Tapes has been killing it with some awesome new album and cassettes recently. They just put out glitter cassettes for an album I used in one of my last videos, Ethereal by Ocean Shores. They also have 2 more cassette albums, Spirits by 08 Breezy and Road Trip by Network 91 in stock as well. I'd lastly like to add that their ambient album, Untitled by MIT 99, is releasing on tape very soon as well. Thus, with this latest release, NLT will be making a July cassette bundle sale for only $20, which sounds like a pretty great deal to me. All these albums are definitely worth your while, and I appreciate the love I've gotten from Nightlight Tapes since the very genesis of this channel. Alright, Late Night Delight, in regards to its physical releases, has been one of the most interesting and multiply ran albums I think we've ever seen in the vaporwave community. From like the 113,000 cassette releases, extremely limited 5-song lath cut vinyl pressing, and now this guy, Late Night Delight always seems to find itself being alive and well in the vaporwave marketplace, almost perfectly replicating that fast food aura, right? It's quick, it's cheap, and if you're hungry, it seems like you can grab a bite of it at almost any time. Today specifically, we're going to be talking about the most recent medium this album has been pressed on, a standard black LP by My Pet Flamingo, a UK-based label that has been growing pretty rapidly in regards to their vaporwave selection. I remember checking my emails after I got back from work one day and seeing an email from MPF pop up. Let me tell you, I never clicked that buy now button faster in my life. I think it was around $44 shipped since I'm in the US and it's coming from overseas, but hey, that's fine with me because I knew how crazy the resale price was gonna be for this baby and I ain't got no time for that. It all started on May 31st, 2018 when My Pet Flamingo posted a rather interesting tweet for something seemingly important dropping at midnight UK time, only hinting it as being the motherlode. We knew this was going to be something big, but no one expected it to be something like LND, a truly big surprise for everyone in the vaporwave community. As of right now making this video, the original Bandcamp page that listed the physical record for sale is no longer in existence on My Pet Flamingo, so I couldn't grab a lot of the info on the pressing directly from the Bandcamp page. However, when backtracking on Reddit, I did seem to find a good bit of information regarding the quantity and more. The album had a run of 250 copies, 200 of which were initially sold on My Pet Flamingo. These sold out ridiculously quick, much of us not surprised, but a remaining 50 copies were to be sold at a later date on Illuminated Paths. As many of you know, with the previous Illuminated Paths pressings of the album, Lux Elite and Saint Pepsi never saw any financial compensation for the pressing. And while that is unfortunate, and even more unfortunate that this new full album pressing I believe did not compensate them as well, from what I've been seeing online, it's kind of cool knowing that the money made from this pressing did go to charity though, so we can squeeze in some bonus points for that as well. There's a pretty great video that recently came out by YouTuber Going on the Record that goes way more into the depth on the history of the controversy with Illuminated Paths and the handling of this album. I'm going to put a link in the description of this video for anyone who wants to check that out. So the artwork on this thing has a completely different look than the original artwork, and not really sure why they decided to make this move, as I think, you know, a big reason a lot of us do listen to Late Night Delight these days is for its nostalgia value as a vaporwave album, and it would have just been fun to have the original artwork as this big giant square in our record collections. But hey, new is always cool too, and and, you know, here we got the Moon Man, skyscraper chilling with a wonderfully lit sunset background. The artwork is unfortunately pretty low res, as it looks like this dude is sweating pixels from how stretched the artwork must have been to cover the whole thing. The cover also has these sort of inkjet printer lines textured over, which add to the cheapness, but for Late Night Delight's case, it kind of works out, for that's the obvious vibe of the album anyway. And we got a pretty sturdy plastic jacket for the record too, which is a nice plus. And what's funny is if you look at the actual, you know, inner stickers of the vinyl records itself, the album artwork is pretty spot on. It's pretty high res, so I'm assuming they just designed it for the inner sticker of the vinyl records and then stretched it to fill the album cover. I don't know why, but on the back we see a simple breakdown of the track list from each artist, as well as the original version of the artwork in the bottom left corner and the My Pet Flamingo logo in the bottom right. When taking the record out, the first thing you'll notice is this thing is pretty damn thick. Almost feels like my scenery vinyl, and that thing has monster sound, so I was pretty excited to, you know, put this thing on my player and see what it was all about. And let me tell you, My Pet Flamingo, I got to give it to you. This thing sounds fantastic. Everything I was hoping for in an LND full album vinyl pressing after experiencing the, you know, subpar sound on the Lath Cut vinyl. This thing just nails everything and anything we could look for in a Vaporwave vinyl release sound quality wise. It almost sounds like the entire album was reworked and remade with just better equipment and mastering. Every sample and instrument sounds so alive, weaving in and out of the many surprising layers of sound these tracks have. That horn riff in tracks like Yeah and synth melodies in the track Sizzling sound like they're being performed right behind you. Saint Pepsi's Give Me Your Love on here sounds so dreamy and warm, like you're floating through a fantasy fast food restaurant in the sky with your soulmate. Blocks of echoed samples being repeated on top of each other in this track create this staircase into the sky is the only way of getting there, and the track Angels that comes right after it just sounds, you know, just as rewarding. That's a track I want you all to really look out for here on the album. You're gonna get everything on here working with one another, giving space for each instrument and sound to shine. It's got a fun sample, 1980s picking guitar riff, roomy bass line, and a mature and well-tailored drum track. Just a ton of fun that I am so happy to own with this pressing. And I won't forget the classics for y'all. You know we're all looking out on here for all night and enjoy yourselves, and they're finally displayed with the treatment they deserve. Unforgettable Vaporwave tracks you'll love to see come to life through your speaker system. To simply put it, it sounds like the album was given a moonstone and evolved into a much stronger, polished form. Incredible job on mastering this thing. When listening to the album digitally all these years, it sounded like all the tracks were just blanketed over with this layer of smoke. And while that just added to the overall aesthetic of the album, I did feel like it would distract the listener from the sample choices here. But everything sounds so atmospheric, and instead of that smoky, reverb intensified characteristic sounding like it's just lazily being laid over the tracks, it now feels way more dimensional as different sounds peek in and out, some sounding trapped in a haze while others are up front, high quality, and unbelievably shiny. It is a shame that this thing is really flipping for so much on eBay. I really hope more people can eventually get their hands on this for a decent price, as it's a classic in the genre and deserves to be spun. I guess we can look at maybe all of those cassette releases as hope for more potential releases in the future. Hey, I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see, but until then, I'm gonna spin this bad boy. Probably go get me a Big Mac, because I'm kind of hungry right now and hungover, so I could use some food. But anyway, people, I love you to death. Thank you so much. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel. Click that little bell to stay up to date with me the moment I release new videos. I love having you guys, and until the next video, much love, your boy, Pad Chennington.